appreciate everybody taking the time to be on the call here today. We're going to discuss using technology to improve profits, and I'm pleased to announce that we have 3 industry experts in the IT realm that are going to join us today and share some of their insights in how petroleum marketers and convenience retailers can do what we want to do, which is use technology to improve profits. The first guy that's going to be on the call is Johnny Bertucci of Rologic. And Johnny owns Rologic, and they do a lot of software development programs for firms in the industry. We also have Alan Getz with WEX Fuel Management, and Alan's going to be talking a bit about the 5 best practices for buying bulk fuel. And then lastly, we'll follow up with Glenn Turner, President and CEO of Firestream Worldwide. And Glenn's going to talk a bit about proactive business alerting and process automation in the back office. So I'm excited to hear what Glenn has to say as well. So it should be a good time. Couple ground rules here. Because so many folks are on the call, I have everybody muted in the background. And if you have a question that comes up, please feel free to type in your dialog box and send it over to me. At the end of the time, we'll have a brief Q&A wrap-up. So if you send a question, we'll be able to either address it at the end of the individual speaker's time or address it at the close of the call. So again, appreciate everybody's time, and we'll go ahead and get started. So Johnny, I am going to turn the controls over to you and allow you the opportunity to share a little bit about SaaS and mobile devices and how firms can use those to better their businesses.
Okay. Awesome. Pleased to be here. Again, my name is Johnny Bertucci, and just a 15-second history of who I am. I've been doing software development for about 35 years now. Specifically doing software development for the petroleum marketing industry for the last 23 years. In 1994, I got involved with David Nelson and his study groups and became the software developer for all of the study groups software. And then in 2007, because of the encouragement of many of the petroleum marketers that we were working with, especially those in study groups, they encouraged me to form a company called Rologic and focus exclusively on petroleum marketer software. So since that time, we've been doing pretty much nothing but focusing on petroleum marketer software. I've been, asked to talk about some technology and some of the things going on in the IT world. And certainly in the IT world, there's no lack of buzzwords to describe things, and there'll probably be some buzzwords thrown around today. But there are some cool technologies that are converging to really make for some some cool solutions and some ways that that businesses can take advantage of these technologies. One of the ones is software as a service, or cloud-based computing. Certainly with the smartphone, iPhone, Androids, the GPS technology that's inherent in those phones. Combine that with the ability to connect to the internet, and now you really got some tools you can play with to make some things happen. And then another area I want to kind of just address briefly is just standardized data and data structures and methods. Kind of the ability to move data from system to another system more easily, and it allows you to to really have a sort of the best software to do the job that needs to be done without necessarily duplicating data, and have best-in-class applications. I'm going to do this. I have a few examples, and basically by using the examples, I'm going to kind of just talk about some of the technologies and have some, I guess pictures paints 1,000 words, so I'll have some screenshots to kind of show some of this stuff. The first example I want to talk about is a lubricant dispatching example. And the kind of the technology we're going to be using is mobile devices that have GPS and internet activity. It's going to be cloud-based, and also the ability to integrate some back office data with the application so that data can go back and forth. And what this will allow us, for is, with the cloud-based, internet-based application, anybody anywhere can see what's going on. The location doesn't matter. Even the device doesn't matter. You can have a common data view amongst the different divisions in the company. And of course, integrating with the back office, there's no duplication of data. And then if you can complete the cycle, you can actually wind up going paperless, which is a pretty cool thing, especially with disparate offices. So I'm just going to go through this example. It's a, like I said, it's a lubricant dispatching example, and kind of show some of the things that it can do. Here's a screenshot of a dispatching screen, if you will, but there's a lot of stuff going on here that's pretty cool. For instance, the unscheduled orders on the left-hand side are being filled automatically through a web service using some XML standards to push the orders out of the accounting system, the back office system, into this lubricant dispatching software. So nobody's retyping in orders. Once the orders are typed into the back office application, the accounting package, they automatically flow over to this application for a dispatcher to be able to load the order onto a truck. You'll notice that on one of the trucks, the truck 103, that there's a check mark and the order is in green, which indicates that the order has been delivered. Again, the order got delivered, and the information is conveyed immediately, to anyone that's, looking at this screen, showing that that information is conveyed so that, customers calling in or order centers who need that information can actually see that information real time. The next screen here is would basically be on an iPad or an Android tablet or an iPhone, where just kind of like, I guess, UPS or FedEx, you can get the signature from the customer, and notice at the bottom of the screen there's a current location lat long, so we know when and where and who signed for this delivery, and once that has taken place, we know that that information conveyed back to all the players that need it, and a receipt is emailed, to the customer. The back office package receives the notification via a web service that the order has been delivered. No paper has to ever, change hands. And now that the order has been sent back to the accounting system, it could actually be invoiced out real time. It could be invoiced out immediately with no, no waiting for, paperwork to arrive back at the office. Just complete the cycle sort of, real time. I mean, everything happens, everybody knows what's happening, and it's all kind of because of the, we have this, device that has a GPS on it and has some internet activity on it, and we can, using some standards, be able to get that information. Then, of course, once you're tracking all this kinds of information, you can do some analysis on it. So this is just an example of a scheduled performance report that, you can figure out, am I being efficient with my deliveries, the quantities, the number of hours being delivered, miles per order, et cetera. And so now you can start evaluating whether or not dispatching is dispatching well, whether or not the delivery drivers are delivering well, and how all of that goes. Now that you're collecting some of this data, the metrics that you can can look at and start benchmarking, you can start improving some of the efficiencies that happen with the lubricant dispatching. So I just, in this little particular example, using the XML and services to populate orders and enter into an accounting system, using the mobile GPS to record the location, capturing the signature, all information throughout the process, and the status of the process, if you will, is available anytime, anywhere. So you know exactly, whether the order is scheduled, whether it's on the truck, which truck it's on, whether it's out for delivery, whether it's gotten delivered. All of those pieces of information are available in a sense without somebody having to call somebody and ask them. It's available to all the people who need that access. And the cool thing is, not only all of that, but, we can actually close that order, if you will, and push it back into the accounting system, and the invoice can commence immediately. So you don't have to wait for anything to come back before that delivery can take place. That was just an example of using sort of, mobile device and some XML and web service technology to, if you will, take a process and, as I would say, like tie a ribbon around it, have the entire process closed in and working smoothly. Another example I have is a skid tank ROI example, a return on investment on a skid tank. Kind of talk about, mostly this is just cloud-based application, a software as a service with some XML integration. But the cloud aspect of this, I think, is what really makes this application shine. And then the ability to integrate with the back office to get a return on investment on our tanks is sort of like the icing on the cake. This is a second example, again, of just using pictures to tell a story. Most people who have tanks that are being put out in the field have loan agreements, and these tanks are fairly expensive, and to try to get a handle on how many we got, how much they're worth, where are they at, is oftentimes I've been to many petroleum marketers where the loan agreements are in a box in a corner in somebody's office, and to find out exactly what we got, where, and how is a little bit of a challenge. So this is just a web-based application where we can keep track of all of our loan agreements and all of the equipment on the loan agreements, the history of those, of the equipment, of that rental on the loan agreement. And again, because it's web-based, everybody who needs to can have access to it. The actual loan agreements themselves can be tied, to the agreement number, and you can keep track of signed agreements, the equipment on the agreement as they come and go. If a pump breaks and it needs to be replaced, trying to find the agreement, put the new pump on it, et cetera, is usually a challenge. Here it's all everything's online, and it could be done if you have a browser on an iPad and are out in the field doing it. You could actually update the loan agreement. We could take pictures of the installation so that people know exactly kind of what it looks like. If you have to go out and replace something, you know where it is. You won't be in for any surprises. You could actually, get a good handle on things. And again, this is all just a web-based app. It allows you to upload photos and sign documents, keep them all organized. And as you keep them organized, you're much more likely to have a handle on your tanks and your equipment. Now, the icing on the cake is being able to pull some back-end data, some profitability data for those tanks out of your accounting system, and then be able to know whether or not this tank is performing or not. And so you can see, if a tank is out in the field and you're not making as many deliveries as you need to, or the deliveries are not as large as they need to be, and you have another customer that needs a tank, well, rather than buy a new tank, you might be able to move some tanks around and, again, make just better business decisions. And so that happens because we can take some, gross profit data out of a back-end accounting package, marry it to this, skid tank data, and actually do a sophisticated return on investment. And we can do it by product, by salesman, by customer. We can do some usage reports. We could do all kinds of analysis with it, again, because we can marry the data using XML and web services. And so it gives us a way to make better business decisions, based on facts, not guessing. Rather than purchase another tank, maybe move a tank. You can evaluate whether or not your tank size is appropriate. You can hold salesmen accountable when they say this guy's going to buy 1 million gallons of fuel and he's not. And you also have a very accurate inventory, where your tanks are, how many are in your yard, how many are out at the customer, et cetera. Then I'm going to go, I have another example. The third example I have here is a pricing example, and it's basically the technology I guess I want to just talk about, which is very old technology, but simple. It's just FTP and email. Using FTP and email and then some standards, we're able to organize and consolidate some prices, and then also be able to send those prices out as notifications. And so here's just a little log screenshot of every 5 minutes going out getting prices. Most every major application will do this. Just go to DTN and pull in prices. I think what makes this one a little bit more unique is we can go more than to just DTN. We can pull Platts, Opus, just regular emails, any kind of way prices would come in. We can pull them in and organize them, and so now you got a nice little organized grid. Typically people would do this in a spreadsheet or download from FuelBuyer or DTN and throw this in a spreadsheet and organize it that way. This happens all automatically, throughout the day as prices are being sent. They're being, captured and thrown in a grid. Once you have them, we can do different things with them. This is a grid by terminal. We could also organize them, from low to high. Once you have data, then some sense the sky's the limit with how you can organize it. But this organizes it for you. And additionally, once you've got the data, now we can actually do something with it in terms of our customers and being able to send them out. So, here's a sample of, okay, I've got some data and I want to determine what's the lowest price for this particular customer, so I can calculate that and send that customer this price. And additionally to that, in-house, I can also figure out, which is the best place to purchase this from, given the distances from the terminal to the customer, put some laid-in cost in there and figure out, that at this particular customer for this particular load, this would be the best place to buy that fuel, or at least the most cost-effective way to buy that fuel. And of course, dispatchers will tell you they have 1,000 other variables that need to be in consideration, and so this by no means handles all of those variables, but it does handle, the distance from the terminal to the customer and be able to calculate not a best buy solution, but close to a best buy. And then you could actually notify automatically the customer of his price. So automatically, again, the price can go out to the customer, letting him know what his prices are. And that, basically, taking disparate inputs, DTN, Platts, Opus, email, manual, spreadsheet, we automatically acquire, automatically organize, and then automatically send these prices out to customers. Again, this is a cloud-based software as a service kind of a thing, so there's no infrastructure, costs or infrastructure concerns at the, at the user level. Again, that makes it, if an owner is on his iPad, wherever he is, he can log in, check prices, check emails that have got sent out, etc. And so I just have, my time's running short. I'm going to do one more quick example. This one, again, is using the cell phone or the tablets as the main device. One thing that we've done is this salesman tracking, again, using the cell phone, GPS and internet access, and actually geocoding the customer locations. We're able to generate a salesman call log and also a pipeline at the same time while a salesman goes throughout his day. This is a screenshot of a cell phone, an Android cell phone. This also is works on iPhone, iPad, and an Android tablet, where a salesman literally at the beginning of his day can simply click Start Tracking Me, and without touching the application for the rest of the day, it will create a call log for him. And here's a sample call log for throughout the day that got tracked. And if the salesman wrote in comments throughout his day, those comments would also be tracked. And other than typing in the comments, he would not have had to type in any other information on this screen. And typically, the ability to capture that data gives us a possibility of creating a pipeline, which most salesmen know and need and love. But typically, as suppliers will come meet with the marketer and want to go over their pipeline. I've seen many marketers pretty much make up the numbers the day before the meeting, as opposed to knowing for sure actually what is in the pipeline. And here's a way of, because it's done real time, every day, at the time, the pipeline is not only available real time, but it's also accurate. It's also what's legitimate and what's in the pipeline. And so a mobile, this mobile device knows where you're at in real time. It builds the log. It can build the pipeline. You can hold salesmen accountable. We can, just like the skid tank ROI, we can throw gross profit numbers along with the customer call log to determine how effective this particular salesman is being with his time and with his decision making. And so, in summary, certain technologies are converging. Certainly, the mobile devices. iPhone just came out with a bigger device, or sort of an in-between, the cell phone and the tablet. And all of these devices, they have GPS on them, they have internet access, and because of that, we can do a lot of things with them. It makes for new solutions. If you know where you are and you can type, without, having to type that in, we can do some sophisticated applications with that. And so, that was just an example of some of the technologies that are out there and that people are using to be able to, make better decisions, certainly with the return on investment type stuff, and also just be able to save time by grabbing data from one place, organizing it, and throwing it into another place. There's my contact information, and I'll certainly throw it back over to Jed and for whoever's next up.
Yeah, well, thank you, Johnny. I mean, my big takeaways here is some of the solutions you provided really are trying to drive paper out of the system. They're trying to increase the speed of communication, both with the customer and then also ultimately back to the back office at home, things that allow you to track assets more efficiently, and then also put more, when you have multiple people that are in a process, being able to use some of this technology to get them into the information loop as opposed to having, like I think the example you said, a file in the back of one person's desk that people may not even know is there. It kind of allows multiple people to have access to that information when they need it, and sounded like the cloud and the way mobile devices have developed and GPS have all opened new doors for greater use of software in a petroleum marketing business. And one question, Johnny, that came up from somebody, are some of these solutions sensitive to the back office system that one has, or can, regardless of what your back office system is, can these solutions be implemented?
We've implemented them with a number of back office packages. The more modern back office packages make it easy because typically they're in SQL format and have web services available. But we've attached these applications to a number of back office packages. So we try to be back office agnostic, but we're certainly not attached to every back office, but we have attached to more than just a few.
Well, appreciate the feedback, Johnny, or the presentation, I should say. And certainly folks can follow up with Johnny with more questions on their own, or send me some notes and we'll wrap it up at the end with additional questions. And I did just want to clarify that the presentations that are laid in front of you today, I plan to email those out to all the attendees, so you'll have copies of these as well. So Johnny, thank you. I'm going to now turn it over to Alan. And Alan's with WEX Fuel Management. And if I got that right here, Alan, we'll get you up and running. I think everybody can see your screen now. I can see it. I'll let you go ahead and tell us a little bit about 5 best practices for buying fuel, and how do you find the best fuel price as well. Are you there, Alan?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry about that, guys. I was talking to a muted phone. My name is Alan Getz, and I'm a channel sales manager for WEX Fuel Management, and I wanted to walk you through some steps today concerning best practices for purchasing bulk fuel and some potential ways that my organization may be able to assist you with those endeavors. So first off, a little bit about us. We are a software service located in the cloud, founded in '99, bought by Wright Express in 2007, and rebranded to WEX Fuel Management in 2013. The group's located in Louisville, Kentucky. We are the nation's largest fuel supply chain management solution, covering 16,000 locations, and about 22 billion gallons of fuel go through our software each year. We offer 2 solutions for managing bulk fuel, a software that's called Telepoint that is modular, so our customers can choose to implement different pieces of the software based on the way that their business is set up, and also a group that we call Fuel Advisors, which is an independent fuel desk that can be used to outsource fuel purchasing behavior from companies that no longer perceive it to be of value to make those kinds of selections. So a quick idea of where we fit in the market space, you can see that we fit both from a fleet perspective, fleets that have bulk fuel stored, and also small, medium, and large jobbers or retailers are also using our solution to manage their fuel. So what I wanted to do today was walk you through what we consider to be 5 of the best practices for buying bulk fuel. The first being to secure an index-based contract for the majority of your fuel. The second being to leave yourself a little space to work in spot purchases. The third being practicing intelligent market timing. Number 4 is taking a strong look at freight rates and making sure those are clearly defined. And then number 5 is getting yourself in the discipline of regularly auditing your invoices for accuracy. So the number 1 best practice in a little bit more detail is to secure an index-based contract for the majority of your fuel. So an index-based contract is basically exactly what it sounds like. A fuel supplier is going to give you a price for fuel that's not a retail price but a wholesale price that's based on an independent benchmark index. The 3 most popular indices are going to be OPIS, Platts, and Argus. And the way it works is you're generally going to pay a price that is fixed at some rate over the index. You can see we've put together a really simple formula here where you're looking at the index price plus freight, taxes, and a fixed margin are going to end up giving you the price that you pay. And when you're making a selection for what kind of contract you might want to be under, you need to understand the historical pricing for your region, what a typical contract may look like for your market, which suppliers in your area offer which indices, because not all indexes are going to be beneficial for the buyer. So you've got to make sure that you choose wisely. But the number 1 best practice is, again, to secure an index-based contract for the majority of your fuel. which is a nice segue into the number 2 best practice, is to leave some of that purchase capability available for spot purchasing. So the downside to index-based pricing is that if market prices fall below your index, then you're stuck footing the bill for the difference. So committing 100% of your fuel volume to an index, really that's going to leave you chained to the benchmark, which means you can't outperform it or avoid overpaying if fuel prices rise. Just like a stock portfolio, too little exposure can be just as bad as too much exposure. And that's why you need to leave some of your volume available for spot purchasing. We recommend 20 to 30%. That number seems to give our customers just enough space to be able to take advantage of a swing in the market without having to expose themselves to too much risk. So the number 2 best practice is to make sure that you're not tying in 100% of your fuel under contract, but rather leaving some room for spot. The number 3 best practice that we like to tell our customers is that the market moves up and down, and everyone knows that. But sometimes the market will telegraph out its intentions to people who are paying attention. And if you're paying attention, you can get ahead of the 8 ball on price changes that may have an impact on your bottom line. So if we're looking at some of the factors that influence how fuel is traded on the NYMEX, we're talking about political events and changes in pipeline, changes in formulation, regulation, production spikes, holiday travel. All these things can make a big impact on what's going to happen to the market. And an example of this, say if a hurricane was coming. Hurricanes are big, slow-moving storms, and though while you can't predict exactly where it's going to make landfall, if you're operating in the Gulf area, you can make an assumption that it's going to impact your business and that perhaps it's a good idea to go ahead and stuff those tanks as full as you can in case there's going to be some kind of supply disruption or just in general purchase behaviors are going to start getting stronger. So the number 3 best practice that we recommend is that our customers try and pay attention to what's going on in the world and practice market timing rather than getting into bad habits or perhaps even the easy habits of just ordering fuel when it's convenient to order fuel.
Does that lead you to exposure if you're wrong on, perhaps the direction of the price movement to the event, say it's political turmoil or something over in Ukraine, and you think that'll drive prices up and it ends up doing the opposite?
Sure, it is somewhat of a guessing game. However, some things are going to be universal. So if there's going to be unrest in the Middle East, it's going to impact pricing. If there's a refinery that you're using to end up getting your product from, and that refinery has announced that it's going to have some kind of scheduled maintenance, you may need to look at making your fuel purchases elsewhere or adjusting those fuel purchase behaviors. And if you're not paying attention to the market, if you're not keeping an eye on these things that can influence pricing, then you can get caught blindsided by that.
Mm-hmm.
The number 4 best practice that we recommend to our customers is to negotiate for clearly defined freight rates with your carriers. So most freight carriers base their rates on some combination of the National Diesel Fuel Index. And there is a potential for surcharges and other charges to be added in there like demurrage, and that's fine. That's the way that the business is done. But customers who don't understand how their freight rates are put together may have done an excellent job of numbers 1, 2, and 3 that we've discussed, and they just lost all the money that they saved on number 4. So being able to make sure that you can clearly define what your freight rates are based on is going to have a huge impact on making smart decisions on your fuel purchasing. The number 5 best practice that we like to talk about is auditing your invoices for accuracy. It's very easy, especially the larger your organization gets, to quit paying attention to the details of what's being billed on your invoices. And in our industry, in our space, we say an average of 10% of invoices are billed in some way outside of the agreed upon terms. And an average cost outside 5 cents per gallon whenever an invoice is wrong. Give you an example here on your screen. You're looking at an invoice from a customer that was presented back in 2012 where the customer took 6,000 gallons of unleaded fuel at $3.78 per gallon. Well, the unleaded price for the day was $2.74. The diesel price for the day was $3.78. And this is an issue where the supplier probably, they didn't do this out of malice. This was somebody fat-fingered in the wrong price. So they punched in the diesel price rather than the gas price for 6,000 gallons, and the difference between the two was about $1 a gallon. So that's $6,000. Add on top of it insult to injury, and you've got about a couple $100 here of freight and surcharges that were billed outside of the regular contract terms. So $6,200 on a single invoice the wrong way. And if you're not in the regular habit of auditing your invoices, this is something that can have a major impact on your bottom line. So a little bit about us and how we help in this space. Our software solution helps people monitor, manage, and optimize their bulk fuel procurement. The modules that we offer our customers help them cut down on transportation and administration costs, helps them reduce inventory levels in the ground so that they have a more nimble way of bringing their business to market. And I'll not go through all these points, but the tool that we offer that a lot of these points in the presentation have been addressed with is a tool called Smart Buy. It gets us regularly each year on the Information Week 500 list, and it's a way for us to consume complex purchase behaviors of how a company is buying bulk fuel. We can take all of these purchase behaviors and consume them into formulas that are going to run across price changes, around 250,000 price changes per hour, through an algorithm to be able to rank out suppliers for people who are interested. So this is a buy tool, it's a ranking buy tool, and whenever your dispatchers or your third-party carriers are making these decisions, now they've got it ranked out for them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the idea behind Smart Buy, which could be a solution for some of these 5 best practices if these are things that are challenging your organization.
Question for you, Alan. One individual raised, they said branded marketers may not be able to use index pricing. And do you have any suggestions for marketers that may be mostly branded?
Yes, sure. So whenever you're talking about somebody who's in that situation, you're right. They're somewhat tied to the way that they buy fuel. Even in that case, a buy tool like what we offer can help them manage allocation at the different racks that they're purchasing from. So they may not be able to make a buy selection, but keeping up with the allocation of their purchase behavior is something that a buy tool like what we offer can help them with.
Okay. And then another question is similar to one that was asked for RowLogic, but what fuel industry ERP systems, back office systems, have you successfully been able to attach products to?
Yeah, sure. So just about anybody out there, if it's a player in the industry, we've worked with them before. This solution has been around since 1999. With 16,000 locations, you can imagine that we've seen all different types of flavors of ERP systems. So we'd be real happy to get down to that level of detail with somebody who might be interested. Reach out to us, and we will certainly get down to the bottom of what you're doing, how you're using it, and how it is that we could set up our system to complement your back office.
Mm-hmm. And one last question. You said the majority of fuel, I think in bullet point number 1, to go ahead and try to contract up against an index, and there are really those 3 indices out there, Opus, Argus, and Platts. Do you have recommendations on what is the better index, and if so, why, or does it vary across geography that somebody in one area may want to use one and somebody else somewhere else may want to use another? Any insight there?
Yeah, it's really going to depend on each individual business and how they are conducting business. Now, as part of the evaluation of our software solution, we can definitely get into the detail with somebody about how it is that they're buying fuel and how they like to see their pricing and what we've done similarly in the region or in that particular location. So it does get very customized. I would be hesitant to try and throw out a blanket statement like one's better than the other. It's really going to depend on how you're conducting business.
Yeah, and follow-up question, does Smart Buy track allocation on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay, so fairly flexible system then.
That's correct.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much, Alan. And I think what we'll do now is move on to Glenn Turner at Firestream, and Glenn's going to talk a little bit about proactive business alerting. So, Glenn, I'm going to right now make you the presenter, and we'll move controls over to you. I can hear you, Glenn.
Good. That sounds good. I can hear you too, and good afternoon, everybody. And we'll look forward to getting this finished on time for you guys since it's a Friday afternoon. I just wanted to add some color to.
Today, Glenn?
Yeah, well, you're right. I don't know why I was thinking it was Friday afternoon. You're right. It is Thursday.
Just wanted
afternoon.
to make sure I wasn't missing something. All right.
Maybe in my mind I want it to be Friday. Anyway, I wanted to take this opportunity to really add some color to both Johnny and Alan's remarks. They both focused on ways to sort of improve the efficiency of your business. I'm going to make my presentation a little bit more general. Most of you probably know we're focused on providing back office and replenishment and dispatching tools, but I want to give the generalization that there's really a lot to be done with respect for software in automating and using alerting. And I'm going to be very specific here over the next 10, 15 minutes. And I'll give you some specific examples of what I mean by automate. But in all cases, whether you implement our technology or technology from WEX or RowLogic or any of the other software companies out there, a lot of people tend to buy software and stop short of maximizing the automation that they do. And again, I'll be specific about that in a second. The second thing that's kind of important is a lot of the people that we have met over the years think that when they buy software, it's magic ointment and it's automatically going to take care of having a good business and well thought out business practices. And one of the big things I would say is you've got to have clearly defined processes for everything: how you buy fuel, how you set freight rates, how you invoice, how you pay suppliers. And the other thing you've got to do is use tools to measure those processes and alert you when the results aren't as expected. So, for example, if you expect your team to match up 150 bill ladings a day and have no bill ladings greater than 3 days old, you better be watching the metrics on that on a daily basis, or else it can creep up on you and cause problems. One fine point that I'll make before I get into the examples on automation and alerting is that there's a big difference between pushing data and pulling data. And what do I specifically mean by that? Pretty much all software out there has the ability to produce reports. And if your means of finding out whether or not you're running your business at a profitable level, or whether you're processing orders as quickly as you need to, or replenishing inventory as quickly as you need to, if your means to finding that out is by having some human in your business run a report, that's probably going to fall short of having your business operate at optimum efficiency. We call running reports pulling data, meaning you've got to go in and initiate an extraction of data and look at it to tell you that you are or not doing the right thing. We really want to see and encourage our customers to push data, meaning when there's a problem, have your systems that you use tell you that there's a problem. Or when there's something to celebrate, have your systems push that to you so that you get it when you need it and you can make decisions about it. So let's get a little bit into the details here. What is proactive business alerting? That is when your software notifies you, meaning you, the people within your company, or your customers when you need to know something, and as soon as you need to know it. There's no lag in between something popping up in your business that affects you or your customers between that happening and you knowing it. How does proactive business alerting happen? There are a number of different tools out there. The tool that we implement for our customer will either send out an email or send out a text message or an instant message, or all three, so that there's really no way that you can miss the alert. And the last point is that these alerts really need to happen without human intervention. That means nobody in your business has to push a button or run a scan or initiate some process for you to get the alert that you need to have, again, to make a good business decision. A number of the conversations that we've been in about alerting over the last couple of years lead us to saying, hey, let's imagine your oil company looking a lot more like Amazon.com and looking a lot less like an oil company. So what kind of alerts? There's really two big buckets of alerts. There's internal alerts and external alerts. External alerts we'll talk about in a second, but internal alerts are for things like setup errors or orders that are being flowing through the system that have a margin that's less than your target margin. A setup error, let me give you an example of that. For those of you that are deep into the back office processes and end up at the end of the month producing financials, one of the things that a lot of issues track back to in the production of financials is a setup error. And here's an example. I set up a brand new customer with an address in Kentucky, but I set them up with a Tennessee tax profile. And so all of a sudden I've got a month of transactions out there that have run through the wrong tax profile, and it's just a human error that happened. But wouldn't it be great if your system actually sent you an email or a text message and just said, hey, Betty Sue just sent up customer XYZ with a Kentucky address and a Tennessee tax profile. You knew 5 seconds after it got set up that it happened. Some of the other kinds of internal alerting that are valuable are tracking daily activity against goals, like number of invoices sent out, number of invoices from suppliers processed, BOLs matched, gallons flowing through your bulk plants, cases sold to customers, managing credit, like people that are approaching credit limits so that you can maybe have some conversations through salespeople, managing supply contracts and allocation. I thought that screen that Alan showed in SmartBuy was great. He was down in the nuts and bolts, and you could see that the allocation of one of their products available at a certain supplier and supply point was, you know, like 1/5, meaning there was plenty of room on that particular contract. But another thing that you can layer in on top of that is alerting about where you stand periodically with your contracts and allocation. If you're like most marketers these days, you've got multiple contracts and multiple allocations across multiple supply points. It'd be great if you sort of got a hot list of places where you had plenty of allocation and places where you were limited on allocation, both by email and by text every morning, and then maybe again midday. I've talked to a number of you guys over the years. Many of you seem to be implementing CRM systems. There's a lot of data locked up in CRM systems that would be handy to have in more of a real-time basis. You can put that into alerts, and I'll show you an example of that here in a minute. And finally, another example of an internal alert is inventory related. For example, a trigger for repackaging, or a trigger for a transfer from one warehouse to another, or a trigger for reordering from a certain supplier. What are some external alerts? And I forgot to change the word there. The word at the end of the sentence, it should read external, but some examples of external alerts are order confirmation or payment confirmation, recognizing a customer who's increased their volume month over month or week over week, alerts about contract commitment levels. For example, if you've got retail customers that are on a long-term branded contract with you and they're supposed to be selling a certain number of gallons, it's good to keep them informed in real time of where they stand. Or things like tax exemptions that are about to expire or tax rate changes that are about to go into effect. All of those things can be sent out by email, text, or instant message without someone inside your business having to initiate them. I'll show you some examples here. Here's some push message examples. This is there's an issue down in Texas where when customers reach a certain point in purchasing dyed diesel, that you've got to start charging them tax even though they're purchasing dyed diesel. So I've kind of cut off the names of the customers here, but you can see the a nicely formatted email goes out saying the following clients' dyed diesel purchases are approaching or over the limit for the month of May, and then it will list out the customers and their limit level, et cetera. This one's a simple daily notification about how many invoices have been created and the age of the oldest invoice in relative terms based on how old the bill of lading was. So things like that that really help you figure out whether or not you're running the business efficiently or that you're about to approach an issue that you need to talk to a customer about. I mentioned that I would briefly hit on some CRM examples and the fact that there's lots of data locked up in CRM systems. You know, the example that Johnny showed where a lot of notes were put in there, one of the things I'm finding as I talk to our customers that have implemented CRM is they don't read the notes that people put in. So you can use an alerting system to push the notes out to people so that they can be read. So yes, even though you could log into the web and see the notes, if you're sitting there on your smartphone at your kid's soccer game waiting for that to start, if you could pull up an alert in email and flip through some CRM conversations, you might really find some value from that. So I'll go ahead and move on and talk specifically about automation. And there are really 5 automation points that we harp on as we talk to marketers. And when I say marketers, by the way, this is across the spectrum of lines of business, whether you're doing lubes or card lock or a combination of all, or you've got some retail stations. These are predominantly wholesaler automation points, but there's many others that we harp on as well. But I'm going to just tee through these real quick. If you're not automatically getting rack prices imported in, that is something you should really look to automate. Again, I think Johnny had a neat tool for doing that. We have a neat tool for doing that. I'm sure WEX does as well. But there's no reason that you shouldn't be automatically importing in rack prices at this point. When I got into this business 14 years ago, there were many people still keying rack prices. And shockingly, today we still talk to marketers that are keying in rack prices or keying in indices. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not an efficient use of your people's time. The second one that's a key automation point is use EBOLs where they're available. They're not universally available yet, but it's becoming more and more available at the terminals around the country. You can quickly get an EBOL, like within 15 minutes after pulling, that shows gross and net gallons and destination state and BOL number and things like that. And we don't have time to discuss it in the limited time we have here, but there are also some tricks and tools you can use to automatically match the EBOL that comes into a customer destination. Third automation point is supplier invoices. Absolutely, you should be downloading those and processing those against your back office system. You shouldn't be hand keying supplier invoices. Same with dealer credit cards. I know there's a number of branded and unbranded dealers out there that intercept credit cards. And if you've got one or two dealers, this isn't a big deal. But if you've got 25 or 50 or 100 or 300 dealers, you absolutely should be downloading daily credit card batches in gross, net, and fees, and be able to properly apply those to your dealer's accounts, as well as properly apply the credit that you expect from the supplier. And finally, of course, draft notices, which is sort of the end of the financial process for supplier billing. So those are the 5 key things. Again, everyone should be leveraging those to some extent in your business. If you don't, what's going to happen is as you add volume or activity to your business, you're going to find yourself having to add people to your office, which is expensive. I did want to make a point that, and it's somewhat similar to the point that that Alan was making, is really if you are managing freight and customer pricing on an automated basis, you should be able to automatically generate invoices by quickly gathering in what was delivered, whether it's lubricants or fuel. You should be able to fairly quickly generate an invoice and get it out the door. So I'll go ahead and wrap up by saying, again, thank you for giving us an opportunity to participate in this webinar. And Jed, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Yeah, and folks, please feel free to send those questions in. And Glenn, I really like that point that you were driving home about automation. I mean, these petroleum marketing firms, I think most folks understand that labor is the biggest operating expense, and to the extent that firms can increase automation, they can free up time that employees are doing to engage in more productive activities. And the other nice piece is where a lot of folks are keying stuff in is it decreases human error as well. So the few different
Totally agree.
Yeah. As I mentioned, everybody, I appreciate having you on the call. I plan to send out the slides to each of you, as well as a link to the rebroadcast should you want to share it with other people in your firm. And I will, again, pull up all the guys' contact information, which is on this slide here for Johnny Bertucci, Alan, and Glenn. I really appreciate all three of you guys taking the time to help us understand how we might be able to use technology in our business to make it more profitable. So with that, appreciate you guys. Wish you well. Goodbye.